Now, the Philippines is home to some of the most unique and beautiful animal creatures, among them the North Philippine dwarf kingfisher. It's a tiny, colorful bird that's considered vulnerable and very rare, but this wildlife photographer chanced upon one of its kind in a rainforest in Tanay, Rizal. Edwin Martinez is now joining us live to share with us his experience. Good morning, Edwin.
Good morning, Paolo. Hi. Hi to the
Hi,
viewers
great to
also of
have you
CNN.
here. Great to have you here. Now, Edwin, you've been all over the world, traveled the world as a wildlife photographer. You've certainly had your share of highlights as far as your reel goes. But this recent sighting of the rare North Philippine dwarf kingfisher is something special, and it really is a highlight of your photography career, isn't it?
Yes, yes. Well, it was not really, I was not really looking for it, but we were photographing different kinds of birds and we were about to leave the place when one of my companions saw it, and we were really surprised because usually it's in Quezon and not seen in Tanay, Rizal. So it was really luck probably.
Mhm.
And yeah, I could just imagine myself that photographing this rare bird with only 30,000 species in the Philippines.
Right. And this is quite a special thing for somebody who has the experience that you have. Like I said, you've been all over the world. You've taken so many beautiful photographs, but really to capture this rare bird like this in one of the most unlikely places that you would expect to find it. What does that say to you about the fact that these are close to endangered, yet we're seeing we've had a chance to see it in a very unlikely location, like you said.
Well, the problem with the studies right now is that there's not enough data. So seeing it in a place like 2 hours from Metro Manila means it might be the population might be flourishing and it's good news. But the problem is that most of the times this data will not be accurate. So the more you see the bird, the more sighting it would be seen in nearby location. That means the population is flourishing for this kind of bird.
Mhm. It also means, I suppose, that conditions are changing. I mean, we've noted how wildlife has changed their habits due to the way that we've also changed our habits during this pandemic. But that aside, I mean, how difficult is it for a wildlife photographer to chance upon a species like this and really to sort of be quick on the draw, so to speak? It's hard to capture birds, particularly birds this small and this elusive, isn't it?
Yes, it's actually this one is really very difficult to capture. First, they're only like 12 centimeters, and they're really hard to find.
Hmm.
I tried going back to the place where I photographed them, and haven't gotten the chance again to photograph it. So it's really hard, and with the recent typhoons, also it might displace some of the population to other areas. This population is seen in Catanduanes, in Quezon province. So with the recent typhoons, it might have changed also the locations of this bird or its habitat.
Right. The way you're passing on this information, you're part photographer, part zoologist, part ornithologist. You obviously have a great deal of experience. But first and foremost, you are an artist. For you, what makes a great wildlife photo? What are you looking for? What is it that makes a great photograph for you?
Yeah. So basically, I'm a nature photographer, and
Hmm.
so that means it entails wildlife, entails landscapes. Um, for me, when you look for subjects or you photograph subjects, what you look for is first, of course, the right composition, the right moment. Those are the things that's really important. In some cases with bird photography, it's just the moment, so it's fleeting. So you try to capture the moment with the right light, with the right angle. So those are the things that you look for and you try to photograph.
Those are beautiful photos of the puffin. I think that is on screen now.
Yes,
For
the
those
puffins.
for those who are inspired to take up nature photography, what does it take? Is it the eye? Is it the equipment? What advice do you have for people who want to get into nature photography? Do we run out and buy a ₱500,000 camera? Is that what's important, or what really makes a great photographer, and what makes a great photograph, which we've talked about?
I think, well, again, it's not the arrow, but it's the Indian who
Right.
shoots the arrow. So um, I think the most important is the passion of the artist. So if you really want to photograph nature, or you photograph any subject, then the intention and the passion is the first thing that you need. Um, Secondly is to set goals and plans to do it. I've been all over the world. I used to be in a corporate setup. Then now I'm a full-time photographer doing tours around the world. I didn't expect it to be like this. So what I did was I tried to set goals and plan. Treat it like your hobby as a business. So you have to plan it. It's just not, things happen, luckily for you, but you need to set goals for it.
Right. Well, speaking of setting goals, what's on your bucket list? I mean, obviously, catching or being able to capture the dwarf kingfisher is one of those things that you can tick off the bucket list. But have you set what's your bucket list goal? Do you want to photograph all the kingfisher species that we have? Do you want to travel all over the world, which you've already done? What for you is going to be able to say I've achieved what I set out to do?
Well, during this pandemic, my bucket list was to photograph the local the local avian population in the Philippines, specifically the kingfishers, the sunbirds. There's so many endemic species here in the Philippines that are really beautiful, and just need to highlight it. The only problem in the Philippines is logistics. Some of the places that you need to photograph is so hard. So that was my bucket list for during this pandemic. But there's still a lot to photograph in the world. I'd like to go to Mount Everest, climb it, and photograph it. I'd like to go to the rainforest of the Amazon to photograph the different tropical birds there. So there's a lot. But during this pandemic and short objective, short time objective is to photograph as much as the population of the avian population here in the Philippines.
Well, I am inspired. Those are beautiful photos, Edwin. Please keep on taking great photos. Edwin, thank you for spending your Friday morning with us. You're
Thank you,
watching New
Paolo.
Day.
Thank you. More
All the
power
news
to
you need
CNN. Yeah.
and more. Thank you so much, Edwin.